Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Can't Be Bothered podcast. I'm
Hey,
Anna.
hey, I'm Abby.
And welcome to our season one finale. This is so exciting to be finally at episode 20. It's really exciting that we've made it this far, and I feel like we've grown so much. And I love to see how many listeners that we have tuning in every week. So thank you so much for everybody tuning in. And we didn't think of any other topic would be fitting for our finale episode than talking about the actual finale of Salt Lake City, and all the reunions.
Yeah, that was a doozy.
Such a doozy, and we've been wanting to talk about it for so long. And I know that a lot of the episodes that we've been filming lately, we've said like, oh, okay, we're gonna get to it, we're gonna get to it. But I'm really glad we waited until all the reunion episodes came out, just so that we could fully deep dive into it. We have all the information, all the receipts, and everything to go off of now.
Receipts, the proof, the timelines. We've got it
Exactly.
all.
We have it
Yeah,
all.
we really needed some time to like process everything too, because yeah, we were just absolutely reeling from that last finale episode. There's so much to unpack just from the whole entire season. And, before we even started recording, we're like, this has been a bit of like a roller coaster. So I feel like, we'll just find a way to process all of this chaos together. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Before we get started, Abby, I would love to hear where you're at right now. It's very intriguing.
Yeah, so I am currently shopping in Meredith Mark's store. I assure you that this is my first time that I've been here. Yeah, so potentially Little Miss Monica behind me in the security footage there,
Hmm.
from the infamous stolen handbag, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
we'll get into that, but I am sitting here, monitoring the store.
It's kind of a cool background. It's giving Halloween a little bit. This would have been good for our spooky episode.
I know the faces are blurred,
Yeah.
like all black and white, gritty looking. Yeah.
Yeah. Monica's
Um,
blonde era.
exactly. So why don't you tell our listeners where you are today?
Well, I'm driving by Jen Shaw's house, just seeing what I can see. If I happen to stumble upon something, then so be it. I have a contact I can reach out to give some evidence over, and a breathalyzer on deck just in case I should need it.
Of course, you've got that probation officer on speed dial.
Yep. Honestly, this is such a beautiful home, and I remember when Jen was on the show, I loved the style of it. I don't feel like it's something that I would personally get myself, but there's something that's very like ski cabin cottagey about it that I really love. So I'm happy to be in front of it. Just if I see anything, I'll let you know.
Okay, sounds good. Please be on the lookout.
So, I know that there's a lot to dive into, and so much happened in the last episode of the show and also in the last three episodes of the reunions. But let's do a little recap of the entire season. Let's sip our tea and spill it, bitch.
I know we've both got hot tea for this episode. I almost was like, I need a beer for this one, but I'm like, no, I gotta have that clear mind
Yeah.
and I'm ready with my tea.
Perfect. So much happened, but I feel like something that came to both of our minds when we are prepping for this episode is the way that Meredith was once again unfairly treated this season. I really feel like she was such a focus of drama, and just a lot of things were sort of put on her, that wasn't really hers to take. In all honesty, I feel like she was the one that was the most reasonable and rational this season, and was just kind of there for it and didn't really do too much to stir the pot. So it was interesting that she was such a center of attention for the whole season.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Again, I've said this before, but it was kind of weird. Like it was just odd. Like
Yeah.
why? And I feel like sometimes when I don't know if you can relate, but when someone is so like composed and unbothered
Yeah.
in many situations, people can feel like that's suspicious.
Yeah, 100%.
So I kind of feel like that's what Meredith is giving us a little bit.
Yeah.
Not me, because I can relate, but like,
I feel like it is similar to Heather Dubrow as well. Like, even though it's
yes.
not a Capricorn thing, it is like a personality thing. And yeah, it was interesting to see like OC in Salt Lake City not happening at the exact same time, but similar. And there's certainly
Yeah.
some parallels there for sure.
Honestly, that's so true. That's such a good point. Um, yeah, I mean, I think people just wanted to point the finger somewhere.
Yeah.
And I guess like because of the same or similar accusations they had made the season before, they were just kind of
Yeah.
continuing on that trail,
Mhm.
even though none of that was ever like legitimized either.
Yeah, for sure.
I felt like they just continued to kind of go for the low-hanging fruit a little bit.
Yeah.
And Meredith, I felt like she did keep her composure pretty well for the most
Oh my
part.
gosh, yeah.
Obviously, there was the one night where she spilled the rumors and the nastiness, but I felt like she owned that pretty well and like hammed it up. And, she just kind of moved forward from there. And later on in the season, we saw a little bit more of a breaking point on the boat,
Yeah.
which, like, fair enough. It took you the whole entire season to get to that point. Like,
Yeah.
I'm getting really angry.
I love a breaking point on a moment on a boat, sorry.
Yeah. A, a breaking point moment on a boat
On a boat. Yeah. That's in Bermuda. Like
in
that's so
Bermuda.
slay.
Say
Um
that fast 5 times.
but yeah, I feel like by the end of the season, I feel like I felt really badly for Meredith, and it was really interesting to see how quickly people decided to just automatically turn on her and sort of come to the conclusion that she was saying a ton of things and somehow planning and scheming against the entire group. It was so weird to see that. And I think it was unfortunate for Lisa to sort of go there with Meredith because I feel like throughout the season, there was an effort on Meredith's part to heal that friendship and
Mhm.
to sort of build some bridges. So definitely disappointing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like because of how intense that whirlwind was on that last night in Bermuda, I feel like everyone really quickly forgot about the night before, but they were having that dinner in the caves, and that was honestly one of the most uncomfortable scenes for me to sit through. I was like physically uncomfortable,
Mm,
like on Meredith's behalf, just the way
yeah.
that everyone was automatically assuming and kind of like bandwagoning, jumping in on this that it was Meredith when, literally the next day everyone found out it wasn't. And then automatically we're just over it and never spoke a word of it again.
Yeah.
So when Meredith got really emotional on the beach when she found out, I kind of wondered if part of those emotions were attributed to that and like that
Yeah.
release of like, I've been vindicated from this.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, because I think even that was brought up with Jen of like her telling the feds like where Jen was located, like the season before, or even the one before then. Like, I just feel like this constant narrative of Meredith has been continuing for so long. And so, yeah, I'm sure it was very emotional for her and it's completely understandable. And I honestly feel like the reunion, and we can get to the reunion in a little bit, but didn't really shine too much light on that. And I feel like it would have
Yeah.
been good to have Andy ask some questions to Meredith about how that felt for her
Yeah.
because every it wasn't just Lisa coming after her, it was like Whitney especially, like all of them
Yeah.
were like thinking that of her, and that would be really hard.
Exactly. Like Whitney, Angie, Lisa, even Heather. And they were all just kind of jumping in on it, no questions asked. And yeah, I totally agree. I feel like Meredith really didn't get any time at the reunion, or at least nothing that they put in the final edit
Yeah.
to show that like she was considered that way. But
Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
our girl.
I know, poor thing. I love that she's having fun with all the like memes and remixes of the rumors and nastiness because I feel
Yeah.
like it's showing too that like you don't need to be the center of all this really toxic drama in order to be iconic on the show, and like that's just
Yeah.
what she's giving me this season. So love that.
100%. Yeah, I love her silly side.
Me too. I did also want to touch base on Angie K because although she's not necessarily a brand new cast member, I think this was her first season with the Snowflake.
Hmm.
So she's like now part of the main group. How did you feel like she showed up this season?
So I am not really a fan of Angie K. I feel like I'm open to giving her another chance. I definitely have like room in my heart still for like another go at it
I
if
love
that
that.
is gonna happen, but wasn't really sold, wasn't really a fan. I felt like she was unable to anchor herself
Mm,
into any kind of values of her own. Like I felt like she was just going with whoever had the louder voice and whoever felt like they had more power in that situation and didn't really stand on her own 2 feet. So I would love to see
yeah.
her come out and kind of be her own person and kind of not just like go wherever the wind goes.
No, that's so true. I feel like she was really caught in crossfire between Lisa and Monica, and I think that's because of what you're saying of like not having her own value value
So
system on the
gently I've
show.
said it, yes.
Yeah, like, but I totally understand like what you're saying. It's like it would have been nice to have her be like, yeah, actually, no, that's bullshit. Like, I don't believe that, or like, this is what I would have preferred. It felt like she was really, really quick to think the worst of Meredith.
Yeah.
And just I think Monica and Lisa unfortunately used that to their advantage to sort of distract them from taking accountability of their own situations.
Yeah, no. There were definitely some really cringy moments for me with Angie, just the way that she communicated. I found like, she's up here when things are calm and things are good, and
Mhm.
I'm so respectable and calm and reasonable. And then 5 minutes later, something doesn't go her way, and it's just like fucking chaos.
Yeah.
So I really didn't like that, the two kind of extremes with her. But I do have to say, there was that scene at, I believe it was Whitney's um thing
Her
where
jewelry launch, I think.
yes, her
Yeah.
jewelry launch. Thank you. Um, and she was really caught in the middle with
Oh my
Lisa
God.
and
Yeah.
Monica. And I think for the most part, I can't remember how it ended, but I think for the most part, she handled herself really well. And I appreciated seeing that side of her because I did really feel for her in that moment. And it seemed like she just didn't really know how to handle it, which fair enough.
Oh my God, yeah. I would be so overwhelmed if I were her, like especially feeling that secondhand embarrassment of like, okay, we're at an event and like everybody can tell like there's singing bowls and like where people are just screaming. Like, oh my God. I really felt for her and I think like it was really unfortunate to see her, her life and her name sort of be dragged through the mud.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate to see, but I would have really loved her to stick up for herself to Monica at the end of the day, who I feel like is the one that really like she's the one that said it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she did not have to say that on TV. She could have just said, yeah, I've heard rumors too. So I don't know.
Totally. Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did not appreciate her like take a hit out
Oh
on
my
Meredith's
God.
family comment.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I was so surprised they didn't bring it up at the reunion. I was waiting. Like when that happened, I was like, "Oh shit, this is gonna come up at the reunion
I
and
remember
Meredith's
we
gonna be
said
so
that to
mad."
each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what the fuck? That's
Yeah,
so
and
annoying.
again, maybe they did and it didn't make the cut. I don't know why it
Yeah.
wouldn't have though. I feel like maybe people just,
Oh,
I don't know. It
too
was
much.
just so overwhelming what had taken place after that that it was like water under the bridge. I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, when I heard that, I was like, what the fuck? And I know that they edit thing like they do the confessionals at the end of the season, I believe.
Mm,
And I remember they were making a lot of like mafia jokes at the end. And so I part of me was like, I wonder if that was said more in a joking way, given like the jokes
mm,
that they were making. But then also
yeah.
like it's still not okay to say no matter what. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
know.
possibility for sure, and it would add some helpful context, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I probably wouldn't go there. Can you imagine if that was set on New Jersey?
Oh my no. Oh my God. Teresa would just like never let it go.
Never. No.
Threaten my family.
You're done.
But like I could totally see Meredith like feeling that way, and I'm just surprised that they didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Same. Odd. Hmm.
Odd. So another interesting conflict that we have talked about before on the podcast, but one that continues to come to mind for me is the
Hmm.
tension between Heather and Whitney, both in their just friendship dynamic on a base level,
Yeah.
and also their conflict around supporting Lisa's son and his mission, and Heather sort of reeling from the Mormon church. But something that we haven't talked about yet directly, I think, is in Bermuda the night before everything blew up. I think it was the night before.
Mm,
Whitney had sort of accused Heather of like using her sexuality to promote her book.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I think it's weird. I think it's a
Yeah.
bit of a reach, to be
Yeah.
honest. I
Yeah.
think that like, obviously you want to be like understanding and hear that out if something like that is coming up. But um I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of details that obviously we don't know,
Yeah.
but obviously it sounds like Heather was very diligent
Yeah.
to show you everything that was going to be written exactly as it was. And if I recall, Whitney actually said, "Yeah, I read it. I saw it before I gave you my final approval." And then after the fact, I realized and heard how it sounded, and then I had different thoughts about it. So, it also didn't sound like it was anything really graphic, and I know that's like pretty subjective, but it
Yeah.
it really didn't seem like it was anything that was, you know, exploitative from my perspective.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I thought it was weird and um maybe just another sign of like the lack of trust between them.
Yeah, that's a really great point and a good way of putting it. I feel like for me, something that came to mind was like it's so hard with books to understand tone of language, like tone and intention. Um,
Yeah.
so it can be really hard to know how everything's gonna land with somebody. So I'm
Mm,
I'm open to the argument of like how she read it. Um, however, like I'm really glad that what they did show on camera was Heather really saying like, no, we did a lot of like due diligence and making sure that, and I know
yeah.
like from the little bit I know about publishing, like people need to clear that before it could ever be published. So I know
Right.
that Whitney read it and she also said that on the show. So and I found it just interesting that she happened to like bring the book with her on the trip, I think, just to like and happened to read it at that time. So it,
Yeah.
it did feel a bit I don't know, staged to me.
Yeah.
But I think Whitney like chasing Heather in the Sprinter van to just like, I need you to own this and I need
Yeah.
you. And honestly, this recent episode of Beverly Hills where Crystal was saying to Sutton, like you're the type of person that needs somebody to say like you're right, I said that and I apologize for it. I feel like Whitney's kind of similar to that in that
Mm,
she needs Heather to be like you're absolutely right, I totally use you for my book, and unless Heather says that, it's just not going to be good enough for Whitney.
yeah. I think that is so true. And at least that's my impression of Whitney. I feel like she's someone that I could never actually be friends with because I would always be walking on eggshells with them.
100%.
It's just like you say one thing and then you change your mind or it means something different after, and it's like a pattern. It's not just like
Yeah.
a one-off that you can work through because you've build trust with each other and good communication. But like everything with her feels like such a double standard to me.
Yeah.
Like if someone else was doing that, it would be the biggest problem in the world. But when she does it, it's okay.
100%. Yeah. Like literally couldn't agree more.
Wow.
Um wow. I think that came up a lot in the reunion for me with her, and she just really needed to like insert herself in the conversation to just be like, but do you recognize how that landed for me and do you see how that was harmful? And even in I think it was Meredith's event for her her plated jewelry for the more affordable pieces. Honestly, like
Shout
kind of
out.
a shade. Like it was funny. She's like, it's plated so that more people can have it. Like I just thought that
Yeah,
was
it's more
like
accessible.
love that. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Um, how Whitney was sort of going in like a really awful phase in her life of just
Yeah.
losing her friend and was upset that Lisa didn't show up in a way that like worked for her
Yeah.
and wouldn't accept anything from Lisa when Lisa's saying like I'm sorry if I didn't show up for you but like I also got the impression that like you didn't want this like there's no room for that with Whitney. It has to be
Hmm.
100% like broken open I'm so sorry vibes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I do also feel like just knowing the personality of Lisa and the personality of Whitney, I
Yeah.
feel like that would be really tough through conflict because Lisa is like, well, they're first of all, they're both like zero accountability whatsoever.
That's what I was gonna say.
Um
I see so many similarities between them now.
yeah, and I think they both are highly emotional but express it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um And I do feel like, if I may be so bold, Lisa lacks a little bit of common sense at times. I think that's a
Really?
fair statement. Thank you. Yes. Shocking, I know. But I do think she's had some moments that, um, have shown us that she is lacking some common sense.
Mhm.
And I do kind of feel like in that moment, she really didn't even really do the bare minimum to just like acknowledge Whitney for what she was going through.
Yeah.
As much as I have my issues with Whitney, I did feel for her in that moment, and I felt like Lisa should have just kind of, I don't know, took that one on the
Yeah.
back and just,
That's such a good point. I feel like there are some times where it's not worth getting into the semantics of things and like it is just easier at the end of the day if you're just like, you know what, I'm sorry. And I should have done that differently, you know?
yeah, like this is the hill you want to die on.
Yeah.
Like,
This
okay,
one?
this one,
Lisa's
are you
like,
sure?
yes, this is the one. I want to die on all of them, actually.
She really, really does.
Yeah.
She really does. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I do want to sort of transition to Monica.
Oh goodness.
Not everything that happened
Yes, of
at the end,
course.
but throughout the season, I mean, she gave us a lot to work with. I will say
Yeah.
that. And I would love to listen to our first recap episode when we first started the season because I remember saying how much I liked her.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I feel like that still sort of stays true. I really enjoyed her this season and I appreciated her vulnerability in a lot of ways. Stuff with her mom was obviously uncomfortable to watch, and it was really unfortunate to watch. And it was really upsetting to see Lisa's approach to supporting Monica through that, and just a lot of blaming and using her mom as a dig towards Monica was like really not okay.
Yeah. 100%. Couldn't agree more. I feel like, yeah, I remember the first impression was, hey, we really like her. She brings kind of like a fresh vibe to the show. Loved how like unfiltered she was. Turns out she was really unfiltered.
Super filtered.
Like, please use at least one filter. Um, yeah, I really, really appreciated, like you said, that vulnerability and just it was happening live. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's been a lot of discourse about that it was staged. And to be honest, I'm sure that some of it was just based on where else we're at with Monica. But I do feel like some of that can't be faked. And like, I do believe some of that tension at least is real. So I really feel for her as like an individual with her own kind of family wounds, family trauma. I feel like that is real. And it was nice. I think Andy Cohen had said it a few times. I think it made it really relatable to a lot of the audience.
Hmm.
And that's why people really liked her so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And honestly, like I can't see a dynamic where if they were plotting and they were sort of staging things that is a healthy dynamic. Like to
Oh,
me, I can't see a good relationship being like and then coming to that conclusion. So to me it all makes sense and it actually fits quite well with what we saw on TV. From my takeaway, especially from the reunion, what Monica was sharing was that like her mom was really doing it for the cameras and that was the whole point of it. So that was really upsetting to hear. And I do think like you're saying there is some relatability there with a lot of people. um and yeah, I'm saddened with the way that things have sort of gone with Monica, and I'm disappointed that this is kind of where we're at. Because at the
Yeah.
beginning, I remember seeing a clip of her, Angie, and Lisa going out for lunch in like the first episode or two, and I really liked them together. Like I was just starting to get to know Angie, getting to know
Yeah.
Monica, and I was like, maybe this is a side of Lisa I like. Like I don't know, I had really high hopes for the season.
Yeah. I know. I think that's maybe one of the things that is so gripping and so disappointing to the audience is that it could have gone so differently. It
Yeah.
did not have to be like this, and it could have been something so positive and relatable for other people. And yeah, it just it wasn't.
Yeah. Bummer. Her
Aw, rats.
her her mom eating guacamole and saying it was dessert though was like one of the funniest things I think I've heard on the show.
Oh my God. You know what? Yeah, there have been some great quotes that Monica brought to the
Oh my
show.
God, yeah. I do feel like her way of arguing, especially with Lisa throughout the season, was like we said, it was uncomfortable to see Angie sort of caught in the crossfire there, but I also haven't seen fighting like that on Real Housewives in a really long time, if ever.
Yeah.
Just like 100% below the belt, just catty, immature, just fighting, just
Yeah.
raw fighting.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
yeah, so she definitely brought that, and I think some people liked it and they found it entertaining. For me, I was just like, please stop.
I
This is
know.
sad.
Yeah. It was giving like where we're at with New Jersey and the Judice
Yeah.
Gorga situation. It was giving that level for me.
Oh my God, it's giving Gorga.
It's giving Gorga. And like, we're tired, y'all. Like, we just need a break from all this. Like, it's just been
Please.
so, like you said, below the belt, so catty.
Hmm.
It's just like, it did get to a point where it was just so exhausting that I'm like, okay, what are we doing here?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think like even Mary making that comment about Heather on Watch What Happens Live, like just another just random dig at each other on such a superficial level. It's just
Yeah.
no, I'm not about it. We're past
Yeah.
that.
I mean, inbred was bad enough, but
Oh my
like,
God, don't even get me started on that. What the fuck? And she said it to her face too. That's what I can't believe.
yeah, like I get that people are like, oh, it's so respectable if you're honest. And it's like, okay,
No.
to a fucking point. Like,
Then okay, so as long as we say it to each other's faces, it's totally fine and reasonable. Like,
yeah,
no.
exactly. It's,
Fuck
yeah.
up.
I mean, Mary, I feel like I don't have that much to say about her that I haven't already. I just kind of feel like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
It's kind of your time to go, I think. I did not find you to be comic relief. I did not find you funny. It was just honestly a downer. Like just a big fucking downer.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah. And like goodbye.
Bye. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Mary. I find her really rude. Yeah, honestly, I've said the same thing over and over again, so I won't bore people with my constant opinion of Mary. There's few housewives that I can say like 100% don't like. She's certainly one of them for me. Not a fan.
Yeah.
No.
And like for listeners, like if we've got this wrong, please tell us. Like I would love to know what is redeemable. What is redeemable about her? Please write me and tell me. Comment. I don't
Mhm.
care. Just get in touch and tell me what it is that is redeemable about her because I don't fucking see it.
Get
I
in
don't
touch.
get in touch because goddamn.
I do want to mention it's honestly been on my mind. Like her whole thing with her son is like So, okay, not the like walking on him having sex thing, because that's beyond. And
Yeah.
like honestly, seeing Lisa be like, oh my God, through that. It was like the first time that I've actually seen Lisa, and I've been like, I would probably be the exact same way, just like
Yeah.
laughing so uncomfortably. Um, but not knowing that, or her son not telling her that she's been married this whole time, or that he's been married this whole time. I just am like, I'm not saying that that's a criticism of Mary necessarily. I just find it really interesting that of all things that they decided to share about her life,
Yeah.
that that was one of them.
It's very telling, right?
Exactly.
It's
It's so
very telling.
telling.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And like, um, yeah, I
Yeah.
think we'll just leave it there.
Love that. Let's just leave it there.
So I hope that this is the end for me
Yeah.
on the show. You
Yeah. I
know,
and
live
I
your
feel like
life.
you know what we had said a little while ago too was like at some point there needs to just be like if people love this person, like follow her on social media, enjoy her content. Like there's other ways of staying in touch with our favorite housewives if they're no longer on the show anymore.
Yeah.
That's one of those to me. Maybe she could have a little quirky spin-off that people like. Like I genuinely think that she has enough people that like her and find her funny that she could just be like sassy on a TV show or on Instagram and just like live her best life.
Sure.
I won't be tuning in.
No, no, I won't.
All right. So moving on.
Period.
Period. Moving on. I want to get into Bermuda.
Hmm.
Let's travel.
I feel the warmth and the fucking chill behind me of what's coming.
Yeah, it was honestly pretty spooky. The fact that all this happened in Bermuda, because I used to have such a fixation as a kid on the Bermuda Triangle. I feel like
Really?
just like this dark side of YouTube with like all these conspiracy theories, like I would just get sucked into
Of
in like
course.
middle school. And so I just have this connotation with the Bermuda Triangle. And so I'm like, the fact that all this happened there, I'm like, oh my God. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and it was honestly such a roller coaster because I was really excited. Again, this could have been another really great opportunity for more bonding and relating
Yep.
to Monica. You know, the disappointment of not being able to see her family, um, how much everyone was like connecting and meshing over her birthday.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty positive. It was really interesting. Um, there was like a little bit of drama. I think that's when Lisa lost her ring. Is that right?
No, that's when they
Oh no,
went
that was
to California.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, this trip was pretty light and pretty
Yeah.
positive, right?
Yeah, it was really
Um,
sad. I think that's what made the downfall of it so much worse was because it was actually really positive. And I know Andy had sort of touched on that on the reunion. Um, yeah, it was just sad to
the
see it go down.
downfall.
Yeah, it was brutal. Do you think the whole like clip of Heather on the phone and like, oh my fucking God, like when things really just like,
Yeah.
do you feel like that was a genuine phone call?
Um, yeah. I do.
Yeah,
I
me
feel
too.
like, maybe they had to do like another take of it. Like, but but I feel like that actually happened.
Oh, for
Like,
sure. Yeah, I agree.
um, I don't know.
To me, I think it was coincidental to have like all the stuff with Meredith happen on the boat and like how tumultuous that was of like everybody blaming her for making this fake account and sending Monica DMs. And then like I don't know, just get that call in Bermuda to me was like, okay, the timing of this is interesting, but
Hmm.
like also that's how this fucking works. Like you cannot write this shit though. Like I really do feel like this is just the sequence of events and like if it seems too good to be true, it just is that good.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
that's true. I mean, again, like it is a TV show at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say what the actual timeline
Yeah.
was. Um, yeah, I don't know.
So when that all came down, people were coming into that dinner, or I guess meeting up with Heather on the beach, which I thought was so hilarious that she asked them
Yeah.
to come to the beach. It was so dramatic. And I, as a side note, I've been noticing that Lisa cries when she sees other people cry.
Hmm.
And I think that's like interesting. I wouldn't have expected that from Lisa, but like when Monica was upset about not seeing her family, um, and she's like, "Oh my God, Monica, like what happened?" Like before she even found out, she started crying. So she
I
started to cry on the
know.
beach, like hearing Heather talk about it. We were going into there. I think all of them, like we said, under the assumption that Meredith was behind all these DMs. Um, and that changed very fucking quickly with a snap of a finger.
Yeah, it really did. I also love the like the posts online of people being like, Angie K was just watching from her room, all the ladies
Oh my
gather on the
God,
beach.
yeah. She's like, wait, what's happening?
What's going on?
That's
That
so
killed
true.
me.
Angie K must have been like at the dinner, just like completely floored.
I know. I remember watching her face because I was like, she's the only one who's not in on what's happening right now. And she quite literally was like,
Yeah,
just
that was
what's going
crazy.
on? Yeah.
So funny.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
so then they, Heather spills the beans that Monica is actually a user. I mean, I think that they're under the assumption that was maybe the sole runner of the page,
Hmm.
but is definitely a user of Reality Von Tease too.
Hmm. Yes, two.
Too.
Oh my
Because the
God.
first one was taken down for cyberbullying. Fuck. Um,
Oh, I'm dead.
And yeah, that she has been part of a group of people that is like actively trying to take down the rest of the group on social media. Um, and Heather really went there with taking her down and confronting her. That was quite an episode. I had chills the entire time.
I know.
Crazy.
It was wild because I mean, yeah, we have seen Heather be like pretty passive and definitely like take the brunt and, by her choice, like she
Yeah.
has chosen to like manage a lot of other people's problems.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to see her like lead that situation.
Yeah.
It wasn't like because I feel like any of the other ladies could have led that discussion, but it was really nice to see coming from Heather.
Mhm.
And she spoke with such conviction,
Oh
and
my God. Yeah.
it was a
Did she
powerful
ever?
moment.
Yeah, it was really powerful. I think that's a great word for it. And I love that nobody was like interrupting her when she was like going on her whole thing. Like they were all like, "Oh my God,
Yeah, just give her
go
the
off,
mic.
bitch." And when
Literally.
she, had said that Jen gave her a black eye, and Lisa was like, "Whoa!" Like I knew when I saw Lisa react to that it was a big deal that none of them knew. Like a part of me had kind of thought maybe they all did know, and they were like kind of keeping it under wraps as well. But to see them all react, and Meredith too, she was like actually visibly really concerned for
Yeah,
Heather, and that made me like, oh my God. It was honestly emotional watching it. Like these women have been through a lot.
they have been. Yeah, it was crazy just like how much was tied up in the previous seasons.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really wasn't expecting because I think before that episode aired, it had already broke on social media.
Yeah.
So that was spoiled like a little bit, but nobody knew about the black eye. We just knew that Heather had kind of dropped, some of that will be resolved.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I kind of got to the end of the season and had forgotten that. So
Hmm.
I wasn't thinking like, when are we going to get those answers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the way that Heather sort of presented it to Monica was, I think a lot of people can maybe resonate with it and feel empowered by it almost because in her mind, like she was really sticking up against like a bully. And yeah, I think there was something really powerful about it. And I think also saying like we've stuck up for somebody in the past that we've regretted sticking up for and we're not going to do it again and we're not going to
Hmm.
like stand by really shitty behavior. Um was just such a great thing to see and it made me love Heather even more.
I know. Yeah, I did really love that scene. And like, as chilling as it was just, yeah, so powerful to see her that way. And I know like people have talked about oh, well, Heather, you did this in the past, or oh, you ladies did that in the past. And so now you're changing. And it's like, I think we need to leave room for growth. And,
Just an inch.
just even like a centimeter,
Yeah,
and just acknowledge that, like, that is kind of the fucking point. Like,
I love that. Yeah,
you
that's such a good
know,
point. And, I think like she, out of everybody, has like it feels the most impacted by standing by somebody that she doesn't agree with. Like what that did to her both internally and by other people. Like she was kind of held because she supported Jen so much. She was really held accountable for um standing beside her and having to associate herself with her. Like that was a big
yeah,
impact, I'm sure, on her reputation and like the bigger impact offline and off the show.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that it was coming from a good place. And I think to see Monica, like, I think that her reaction was in some ways justified, like out of anger, because there's also this like worry of like, oh my God, like, no, they're not understanding like what actually was happening, and like people
Yep.
weren't really letting her talk. And I think like anybody can relate to getting frustrated when they're not being heard, so they get louder and it just
Hmm.
becomes like this unfortunate thing. Um, so I did kind of feel for her in that moment, and I think when Heather was like, you can leave, like my that always just hurts my heart for anybody, no matter what the circumstances. Like just being told to leave is like, oh, like I don't know. It's just a soft spot for me, I think.
It's um, pretty harsh, like pretty
Yeah.
blunt,
Yeah.
right? And again, like I think you could justify it,
Hmm.
and you can also see both sides. And it's hard to know, like, if we were in that situation, what we would do. Obviously, the emotions were really charged. Um, I
Hmm.
mean, on one hand, like she's going back to her room, her really nice room in Bermuda. So it's like, how much of a punishment is that really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I totally get it. Just the bigger sense being kind of booted from the group.
Yeah, and I think because she was saying, like Monica was saying, with her birthday, that she hasn't had like a good group of friends. So to see the stark difference in
Mhm.
like 24 hours was just really jarring.
It
Um,
is.
so yeah.
Yeah. I also do think it's like very shocking, the idea of someone, like, she had all this information about all these women. She knew that she had played a part in some of the events that had happened previously. She was deceitful. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think you can say that she wasn't deceitful.
No.
Like, there's really no way around it.
Yeah.
And like, it is shocking to think that she would have thought that that would never come up, or that um like if it were to come up, that it would just be like, oh yeah, I can explain it away, like,
Yeah.
pretty. It just tells you how much she had justified it in her own mind, because I guess
100%.
she did even say, I was expecting this to come up eventually. But it's like, why didn't you just fucking start off with that? Like,
Yeah, I find that, and I even love how Andy sort of said that in the reunion, like how it's confusing to see her sort of not understand where they're coming from, and not even in a little bit. Like I would have at least respected her to say, this is my truth and this is my participation, this is my role. And while also,
and also,
I totally understand that I was deceitful in not sharing this, and I should have absolutely said this earlier, or even like, but I also find it interesting, like her claim that she had mentioned that during her casting.
ugh.
Which, like, I don't know. I don't think I believe that. Like, it's so hard to say now and it doesn't really matter, but that's her
Mhm.
whole argument. And ultimately, though, like, that's not their responsibility. Like, it's hers to tell the group. Just because you mentioned it to a producer doesn't
Yeah.
mean that, like, the women would automatically should be okay with it. It
Yeah.
just doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like if it did get brought up, even in like a small way, um, someone could have just brushed it off, or they could have like misunderstood, or
yeah,
they could have thought whatever about it. Maybe it's not relevant. Who knows if that actually got passed on? But I do think that that would still be like her responsibility, because she's interacting with these women. So,
100%.
to me, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. Fully agree. And I also totally can sympathize with the other women sort of feeling um like a level of intrusion, I guess, of like
Yeah.
knowing that a person that is at the very least associated with an account that says a lot of horrible things, to welcome them into like your home and with your family.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can totally understand that like immediate like defensiveness and just protection of yourself
Yeah.
when you feel like there's been deceit, bottom line.
Yeah. Like think about it for a second from your own life. Think about it for a
Life.
second from your own life. Um, if there was a social media account or like a secret Facebook group or whatever that had been saying things about you, saying things about your family or your friends, your circle,
Mhm.
and it had had negative repercussions for you. 2 years later, you find out that one of your good friends is that person. How do you feel? Like, imagine if you found out that I was behind some kind of social media page or account that was
Yeah.
like targeting you or saying things about you. Like, that would fuck you up.
Oh my God, absolutely. And like I think the lack of her being able to see that is amazing to me. Um
Truly a talent.
it's yeah, it's such a talent. Um but at the same time, I also think like it's interesting how even though Monica's argument is that she didn't attack them, that her participation in this was for Jen, that's still somebody
Mhm.
that their solution when shit's hitting the fan and shit's going down and you've been wronged, that you then go to social media to behind an alien, like not you, but like behind
Mhm.
this wall, and are just posting like a ton of shit about them on social media. Like
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like even in Monica's best case scenario, it's
I
still not
know.
working for me.
Yeah, it's not computing. I am with you there. Beep boop boop boop. Um, just to know that someone could like deceive me on that level so easily
Hmm.
and like they've justified it completely in their mind, but they haven't given me the choice
Yeah.
to decide how I feel about it.
Hmm.
That like I will never trust you.
100%. Yeah, no, that's such a great way of putting it. Um, and I can just totally understand their hesitancy of having trust. Because yeah, even on a base level, like let's say, the women did reconcile with her and they decided, you know what, like you were really going through it with Jen and like your purpose was towards Jen and not us. I would
Mhm.
just never get it out of my mind that like when like you still went to social media to trash somebody's name when like in all reality like Monica was being very instrumental in making sure that Jen was held accountable to her actions behind
Mhm.
the scenes and off social media. So I found it interesting that she wanted to go through all these lengths to
Yeah,
hold Jen accountable publicly and legally. And to what end,
I
like,
know.
and I think that's why when she had made the comment of like driving past Jen's house to like catch her doing something, to me that's where it took a different level because I'm like, okay, this is like beyond just like wanting Jen to take accountability for something. This is like getting a little weird.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I feel like we could do like a really deep psychological dive into what's behind that and the whys and but at the end of the day, like we all have trauma, we all have baggage, we all have histories and things that we have to work through. And
Mhm.
I think Heather kind of said it at the reunion, like that's the way you chose to work through it. Like
Yeah.
I sympathize and I wish you well. I hope that you work through things, but like it's not going to be with me.
Yeah, and not the stakes are just too high for them. Like as
Yeah,
they have identified, like that's the worst part of doing the show is the social media toll on people's mental
exactly.
health and to know that like your close friend was attributing to that is yeah, of course, heartbreaking, confusing. And just yeah, I could totally that just being a complete full stop. And Andy was really trying to pull some parallels there. Um Which like I can some like there was a part of me that was sort of hoping that there would be this like, you know what? Like, yeah, this was really shitty But like they just weren't doing it. Like these do you think there's any way? No. Was there anything that she could have said? No. Like,
Yeah.
nothing.
And I mean, it is also kind of tough to ask that question, like based on the way that things ended, because things did
Yeah.
kind of escalate right before that question was asked. So, like, maybe before going into it, they had a little bit of openness. And I think, I don't know if it was Heather or Angie that said that, but just based on the way that Monica kind of conducted herself and took zero responsibility and showed up with the fucking burn book and her like
Yeah.
arguments ready to go. And the thing that is also, it's hard to trust is it's almost like the boy who cried wolf. Like Monica has just
Yeah.
so many times lied and covered things up. And if you push her enough, or if you ask the right questions, then it's like you see the wheels turning. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, okay, fine. Okay, fine. This is what happened. Or yes, it was me. And it's like, okay. So I can't believe anything that you ever say. Like, do you
Yeah.
see the problem here? You're giving me nothing to work with.
That is such a good point. Like there were so many things that they caught her in. Like even her coming to Meredith's store. Like that wasn't her first time in there. And it was so funny to like see these clips back of um Monica being like, "Oh, Meredith wouldn't set up a fake account, but I definitely would." Like, oh my God, it's just so weird to like I'm sure for them watch back these scenarios where like they were being lied to,
Mm-hmm.
beyond just this, but like in so many other ways.
I know. I
Yeah.
just unfortunately feel like every choice that she has made has been very calculated and with a lot
Yeah.
of purpose. And
Yeah,
yeah,
such a good
it's
point.
hard to come back from that. But
Mm.
yeah, I guess we won't be
Yeah,
because it turns
yeah,
out that she's not going to be returning. That
yeah.
has been officially announced.
How do you feel about that?
I feel like it was going to be tough either way because like if she did return, like how do you salvage that? And
Yeah.
you know, we could end up having like a Vanderpump Rules, Tom and Ariana situation where everything
Yeah.
is just very divided and separated. Not impossible,
Hmm.
but by not having her come back, obviously we're not getting any closure on that.
Hmm.
But I don't know that we would have gotten that anyways. So I do
Yeah.
kind of agree with taking a little bit of a cooling off period. But I think for me, it's really going to depend on who else comes back.
Yeah, that is
Because if
such a
they
great
bring the
point.
same people back, but just not Monica, I feel like I'm going to struggle more with that than if they don't bring on some new people.
Right. No,
What about
that's
you?
yeah, I agree with you, and I think like it's so well said that like it'd be hard either way. I think I am disappointed in some ways because I do think like I almost was like, hey, there's sort of some potential here. Like there's some similarities that Heather and Monica are having here around Jen. And I think that there could have been potential if Monica had come into it and been more apologetic. I could have seen them forgiving her and moving on.
Yeah.
And I genuinely like we were saying, like I really liked her in the beginning, so I'm sad to not have her sense of humor and like her realness there, realness. But I hope that like that isn't just unique to Monica. Like there are lots of wonderful women out there, so I hope that they just keep that similar energy that they were sort of hoping for from Monica and find that in somebody else, and just keep the Salt Lake City vibe going in that way. So I'm sort of curious to see how they move forward with it, and hopefully less um physically violent. I mean, not physically violent, verbally violent. It was such
It's
an
physical in terms of my heart rate,
yeah,
but
like I'm having like a panic attack watching
yeah.
it. But yeah, it would be nice to sort of see them not be so like combative.
Hmm.
And I'm really interested to see what next season looks like. But is there anybody that you think won't come back?
No, I think that
Yeah.
everyone's going to come back and I think they'll just add. I do hope that Mary doesn't come back.
Yeah, same.
And I feel like that one, if anything, is on the fence.
Hmm.
Because I'm not sure how the viewers took to her. I know there was like kind of a split there.
Yeah.
I would be okay with Whitney not coming back. I would be okay with Lisa not coming back, but I feel like they're all gonna come back.
Yeah, me
What
too.
about you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're all going to come back and I think they will add. I hope they add a few more though, like just to
Yeah.
sort of fill in the gaps with Mary and Monica. It'd be nice to see some new people,
Yeah.
like a lot more new people. Because I do feel like it's a relatively small cast and I do feel like the tricky thing with Salt Lake City is that Whitney, Heather, Lisa, Meredith, those are the core ones, right? Am I missing anybody?
Or Angie as well, but I'm not sure if
I feel
she'll
like though those four, because they went through so much with Jen, like they were the ones like that met up at the beach, right?
agreed.
So like it would be really good to see somebody sort of like really penetrate like that and get that group open. Like that would be really
Yeah,
great.
I totally agree. I don't think Angie is gonna be that person. Um,
No.
yeah, and I kind of feel like I won't, I know this sounds bad, but like I don't think I'll really notice if Andrew doesn't come back. Like,
Yeah, no, I
but we'll
agree. I
see.
feel like she was more the topic of conversation, but there wasn't like anything that she really did that like stood out to me. So I mean, I would be open. I would find it in my heart, as you said, to like have her back. But I'd be curious to see if they sort of meet up with her and they're like, okay, you gotta like give us something. Like you gotta give us more of who you are and your personality, like, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I think so many different things could happen. And I think Andy said in one of his interviews, talking about Monica leaving, he's like, who knows what'll happen outside of filming? Like they could, form relationships or work through things outside of that, and then that might be revisited later. So who knows?
I could totally see her coming back, honestly. I feel
Yeah.
like it's one of those people that's just going to be iconic and almost like Brandy in some ways, just like so jarring. And like
Yeah.
the name will just live on.
Yeah, I agree. But like you said, I just really hope that the conflict isn't just so intense because
Yeah.
it does kind of drag things down for me. I would love to see some new perspectives and kind of shake things up a little bit, like
Yeah,
you
for
said,
sure.
with that core four.
Yeah, and like I know that we've talked about before and what we wanted to leave behind in 2023 was just like believing these dumbass DMs. Like, and I think like if we're gonna let Monica go to some degree and
Yeah.
like really move on from that, like that should go along with it of like
Mm,
these dumb rumors about Angie's husband, like just fucking leave it. Like
I
it's dumb
know.
and they all know it's dumb.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly. It's
true.
dumb.
Dumb.
No, it's so true. Yeah. And I feel like in this case, like the actual tweets and Instagram posts and stuff like doesn't really matter. It's more just like the process of what happened, how it happened.
100%, yeah. Well, that's those are all my thoughts of Salt Lake City. I feel like there's so much that could be talked about, but really less is more. And I think our points around like what we could have seen differently and what we're hoping for, it's a good way to move through the drama of this season.
I know. Yeah, I just finished the finale last night and I was just like my head was spinning and I
Yeah.
was texting Anna just like, "Oh, just unwinding after a long day of work, relaxing with a little TV, like
Yeah, no, it's
dizzy
very
on the
nice.
couch."
It's just like absolutely sending me. And I feel like I honestly kind of want to rewatch it, like both the last episode and the reunion episodes,
Yeah.
because A, I got time, and
Yeah.
B, there's just so much that's being said, and it can be really hard with this group because they do talk over each other so much that I feel like I miss some things. And it'd just be good to really like just really soak it in. But for the
I
most part,
know.
you know, I think we're moving in the right direction, and I'm really curious to sort of see how the conversation continues offline because that's the whole part of it too, right? Like Monica's been so active on Instagram
Yeah.
and has been saying so much, and it's not making the situation any better.
I know. I do feel like this is a story that will continue to unfold.
Yeah, 100%.
And I am really curious to hear how much it does come up in the next season, if at all.
Yeah.
Because it kind of seems like the ladies are all wanting to just really leave this behind them and kind of close that chapter. And it seems like they are putting Monica in the Jen Shaw chapter as well, and they're just really wanting to close that book. So
Damn. Could you imagine being Monica, like just being stuck in that book with Jen?
Like that did not go how I thought it was gonna
No,
go.
exactly. That's the thing is like this is exactly what Monica was trying to avoid, and it's like
Yeah.
that was not executed properly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when
Shit.
you never leave your own head.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
Leave your head.
Oh man. But I am really excited. I mean, Salt Lake City has always been near and dear to my heart, so I'm really eager and excited to see what's next for them.
Yeah, me too. Love their journey. Love you, Heather.
Love you,
Love you,
Meredith.
Meredith.
Oh man.
uh, well,
Okay, well, I guess this is our last episode for season one. So,
yeah.
super grateful for, having this whole journey together and just really excited for more juiciness to come out of season two.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We're gonna have lots brewing for y'all.
Yeah, I love that. We have the new season of Vanderpump Rules coming out, which I know we're
Oh,
gonna have a lot to fucking talk about.
yeah,
I'm gonna really enjoy this period in between Salt Lake City and Vanderpump Rules. We only have a few days, but
I
let's just
know.
enjoy it as much as we can to just really take a break, mentally prepare ourselves. I know Potomac's continuing, which is exciting.
Hmm.
I'm catching up on Winter House and Summer House. I know that we've talked about that for this year, so I'd love
Yeah.
to get talking about that in season two, but we have so much coming your way, so looking forward to the next season. And thanks so much for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on season two of Can't Be Bothered.
Bye.
Bye.